They took him off. And they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy.
This guy's coming in, and he's not that guy. If he's going to be maybe a backup quarterbacks are obscure. They're not guys that's in the forefront. And so if you're a team, do you want a guy that's going to come in with all the celebrity, everything that comes with Shedeur?
They took him off the board. Owner said, I don't want that guy. That's the line bouncing around group chats and sports radio right now. And if you think it sounds like the plot to a scandal movie, buckle up, because on August 18, 2025, the Cleveland Browns named Joe Flacco their Week 1 starter over Shedeur Sanders, and the fallout lit up the league like a flare. Yes, that happened. And yes, reports say the pressure didn't stop at the state line. Word is the very top of the league confronted ownership about playing Sanders. And the owner's answer?
Was the slide seen round the world, round after round. All eyes were on Shedeur Sanders, whose name was never called until the 5th round of the NFL draft Saturday, when the Cleveland Browns made Sanders the second quarterback they drafted.
It froze the room. Here's the click you came for. The Browns went veteran over viral. The league reportedly pushed back. And what came next exposed a tug-of-war between image, power, and football that makes X's and O's look quaint. The public is calling it collusion, the team is calling it football, and the truth lives somewhere messier. Quick proof this isn't smoke without fire. We've got a 143-pick freefall on draft day that fans still can't explain. Reports of a commissioner-level phone call during the slide. A rookie who became the league's top merch mover while running scout team routes to equipment staff, and a preseason spark followed by an oddly timed oblique pull. Here's the roadmap. First, the draft day faceplant that
sinister about the league's internal dynamics and the pressure cooker environment that NFL decision-makers operate within. The Browns had not one, but 2 meetings on draft day, specifically about Sanders, suggesting the kind of high-level consultation that occurs when league office guidance meets local franchise resistance. As pro football
turned into a conspiracy grenade. Second, the present tense power struggle in Cleveland and why the league image machine can't look away. Then we pull the camera in on Sanders himself. What's real, what's rumored, and what actually translates on Sundays. Expectation versus reality, end to end. Start with the scene that still makes executives swallow hard. The 2025 NFL Draft, where Shedeur Sanders' 4,134 yards, 37 touchdowns, 74% completions in 2024, was supposed to be a top 3 quarterback prospect. Instead, the league's clock kept ticking.
Functional franchises to become unlikely heroes in Sanders' story.
And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion. Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams pass?
1 round, 2 rounds, 3, 4. Cameras lingered. Tweets multiplied, and by pick 144, 5th round, Cleveland finally called his name. Not first QB for them either. They'd already taken Oregon's Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd. Think about that. A franchise with more quarterbacks than chairs in the room, reaching back in for another, while one of the most productive passers in the country watched 143 names go by. That's not a slide. That's a trapdoor. And once you fall through a trapdoor, everybody...
Good to see you. Oh, we got. Well, we got to do some trading. Deion, she's mine. Hey, Deion. And Jordan, I want to talk to you. I do too. We will.
I'm old enough to remember the last time we had an exciting quarterback fall to the Cowboys when they came up. Have you guys gone through that scenario if there was an exciting quarterback like, say, Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders there at 12?
Yeah, well, we've got a major commitment with Dak, and so you weigh all of that. And but I was going to add to this whole conversation, it's very often that somebody will step up and say, "Now we got this guy right here. We've got him, and we just signed him under contract."
Everybody starts looking for who pulled the lever. That's when the whispers turned into full-volume accusations. Antonio Brown set off the first explosion on August 1st, claiming there was an owner's understanding not to draft Sanders at all. An understanding Cleveland supposedly broke only under heavy league pressure. Then Boomer Esiason said he'd spoken with personnel on multiple teams who were told by ownership to remove Sanders from their boards entirely. Take him off. I don't want that guy. Those are not scouting notes. Those are orders. And if those orders lined up the same way on multiple phones, you're not in coincidence territory anymore. You're in coordination country. Now flip the camera to Park Avenue. The allegation, underline that word allegation, is that the commissioner's office was watching the optics meltdown in real time, and someone picked up the phone. You don't need
tomorrow going on for the community, for the kids, be able to go out there, throw the football, connect with them. We have a lot of fun things supposed to be there. We're doing it for the people. We're not gaining anything out of it. It's all coming out, my own pockets for real. So it's like, I don't gain, anything. It's more about connecting with the kids and everything like that. That's what brings me happiness.
Need a PR degree to understand why. The idea of a black quarterback with Shedeur's resume slipping entirely out of the draft, in the middle of highly publicized diversity initiatives, that's not just bad headlines. That's a bonfire. So the story goes that a call was placed to Browns owner Jimmy Haslam in the 4th round. Shortly after, Cleveland traded up and grabbed Sanders at 144. Plausible? Convenient? Both? Depends who you ask. What's not in dispute is how Cleveland behaved. Not 1 but 2 meetings on draft day specifically about Sanders. Meetings you don't call for routine 5th-rounders, and a post-draft press conference where Haslam publicly distanced himself from the pick, crediting GM Andrew Berry while saying, in essence, if you told me Friday we'd do this, I'd have said no. That's not a happy family photo. That's a reluctant handshake. Here's where the story turns from odd to operatic. If the league was worried about optics, Cleveland's quarterback room became a theater of the absurd. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, and now Shedeur Sanders. 5 quarterbacks doesn't sound like competition. It sounds like a political primary. Someone was always going to be the message. And when August 18th rolled around and the Browns named Flacco the Week 1 starter, the message felt deliberate. We're doing this our way. Cue the reports that league leadership confronted ownership, urging that Sanders play. Cue the owner's answer, polite on the surface, glacier underneath. And cue the fan base split right down the middle. Play the kid you were pressured to pick, or play the veteran you trust to get you a win right now. If you think this is only about football decisions, listen to the chorus around it. Stephen A. Smith didn't just side-eye the draft slide. He drew a straight line to what happened to Colin Kaepernick, a word nobody in NFL HQ ever wants in the same sentence as current controversy. A Colorado fan filed a $100 million lawsuit in May alleging racial discrimination around the slide, citing slander about attitude and even referencing a sealed 61-page arbitration report that supposedly found evidence of bias against black quarterbacks. Dr. Umar Johnson urged Deion Sanders to sue for $40 million, arguing the league punished the family brand. And then, because the script can't resist irony, Hall of Famer Chris Carter played skeptic on collusion while also admitting Shedeur's tumble was basically unprecedented. Everyone's poking the same bruise, they're just arguing over what caused it. Here's the twist most people dodge. The expectation was that Shedeur's fall could only be explained by a hidden hand. The reality is more complicated and more uncomfortable. There are football reasons and there are franchise reasons, and they sit right next to the systemic reasons people are angry about. The pre-draft cycle wasn't kind. Sanders didn't throw at the combine. He kept it to Colorado's pro day. Teams read that as special rules for me, especially when other top guys showed up to compete side by side. Interviews? The leaks weren't flattering. Words like cocky, entitled, unprepared floated out of anonymous rooms, and for quarterbacks, who are expected to be the most coachable, the most self-critical, the most boringly responsible guys in the building, that's TNT. One story had him responding to critique with, "Maybe I'm not the guy for you." To some evaluators, that's confidence. To others, that's insubordination. And then there's the mental chess test. Teams reportedly plant mistakes in defensive installs during interviews. Dylan Gabriel supposedly caught them. Sanders didn't. Fair or not, that sticks. Now add the family freight. Draft Shedeur, you draft the spotlight, the brand, the social clips, the Deion gravitational field. That's part asset, just look at the numbers, and part stress test for coaches who don't want to manage a media ecosystem. Toss in 2 speeding tickets early in 2025, 91 in a 65, 101 in a 60, which, sure, on their own aren't capital crimes, but when decision makers are already circling maturity in red pen, those citations become exclamation points. GM Andrew Berry called it not smart. It's an avoidable cell phone in a year when nothing needed to be easy to criticize. And lest we pretend the tape erases everything, there's the pass protection and pocket presence story. Sanders was sacked 152 times in college, 94 in his last 2 seasons. Some of that is Colorado's offensive line. Some of that is a quarterback who bails late, holds the ball hunting the big shot, or trusts his escapability more than the structure. Translate that to Sundays against hybrid fronts and disguised pressures, and it's a very real question. Is it fixable? Yes. Is it ignorable? No. Even his biggest believers admit there's a next-level speed of processing he has to reach. And yet, here's the thing his critics won't leave room for: the talent repeatedly peeks through the noise. In his preseason debut, Sanders went 14 of 23 for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. Calm, accurate ball placement that says, first-round arm talent. LeBron James posted praise. Dan Orlovsky tipped his cap. Then the oblique injury, a minor one by the sound of it, but the timing? Almost cartoonishly inconvenient for a franchise allergic to his spotlight. The result: the rookie who sold more merch than any of his classmates and was projected to make over $10 million in endorsements suddenly vanished back into the shadows while the depth chart calcified around him. If you were scripting a "prove we were right to sit him" arc, you couldn't storyboard it better. Inside the building, the usage patterns poured kerosene on the argument that the organization never wanted this marriage in the first place. Limited first-team reps. Stories, yes, stories about throwing to equipment staff. If that's developmental planning, it's creative. If it's CYA, it's strategic. Either way, it fed Stephen A.'s take that the Browns were setting him up to fail so the league's pressure couldn't force true buy-in. Then came the Tony Grossi moment. Shedeur approaching the longtime Cleveland reporter after his debut. "What did I do to you?" It's the kind of clip that splits a room. Half the people see a young quarterback holding media accountable.